Okay, hello guys. Today we're gonna talk about selecting employees and placing them in jobs. But first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Dega Alfarizy Hasibuan, and also I have my friend here, Davin Dwipratama Wicaksono. We're both gonna explain about the elements of the selection process, ways to measure the success of a selection method, the government's requirements for employee selection, the common method used for selecting human resource, major types of employment risk, how to conduct effective interviews, and selecting employees.
The first material is talking about the elements of the selection process. There are several elements of the selection process we must look for. The first is the reliability. The reliability is a type of measurement indicates how free that measurement is from random error. Reliable measurement therefore generates consistent results, assuming that a person's intelligence is fairly stable over the time. A reliable test of intelligence should generate consistent results if the same person takes the test several times. Next is validity. The federal government's uniform guidelines on employee selection procedures accept three ways of measuring validity, such as criterion-related and content-construct validity. In criterion-related validity, there's two kinds of research are possible for arriving at criterion-related validity, such as predictive validations and concurrent validation. In predictive validations, they use the test scores of all applicants and looks for a relationship between the scores and the future performance of those who were hired. While the concurrent validations is a type of research administers a test to people who currently hold a job, then compare their scores to existing measure of job performance. Next is a content and construct validity. So this is another way to show validity is to establish content validity. That is consistency between the test items or problems and the kinds of situations that occur on the job. For tests that measures abstract qualities such as intelligence or leadership ability, establishment of validity may have to rely on construct validity. This also involves establishing that tests really do measure intelligence, leadership ability, or other such constructs, as well as showing that mastery of this construct is associated with successful performance of the job. The last is practical value. Not only should selection methods such as test and interview response accurately predict how well individuals will perform, but they should also produce information that actually benefits the organizations. Being valid and reliable adds value to a method. Another consideration is the cost of using the selection method. Selection procedures such as testing and interviewing cost money, so they should cost significantly less than the benefits of hiring the new employees. Second material is talking about ways to measure the success of a selection method. Okay, so there's several ways to measure the success of a selection method, such as reliability, that mean it must be free from random error so that measurements are consistent. Next is a selection method should be valid, meaning that performance on the measure is related to what the measure is designed to assess, such as job performance. Next is content validity shows consistency between the test items or problems and the kinds of situations that can occur on the job. And the last is each selections method should have utility, meaning it provides economic value greater than its cost. Next material is talking about the government's requirements for employee selections. There are several of requirements. The first is the selection process must be conducted in a way that avoids discriminations and provides access to persons with disabilities. Next is selections methods must be valid for job performance, and scores may not be adjusted to discriminate against or give preference to any group. Next is questions may not gather information about persons' memberships in a protected class, such as race, sex, or religion, nor may the employer investigate a person's disability status. And the last is employers must obtain consents before conducting background checks and notify candidates about adverse decisions made as a result of background checks. Next, we're talking about the common methods used for selecting human resource. Okay, so nearly all organizations gather information through employment, applications, and resumes. Today, most applications can be found online. either on a company website or a job search engine platform like Indeed or ZipRecruiter. These methods are inexpensive, and an application form standardized basic information received from all applicants. The information is not necessarily reliable because each applicant provides the information. These methods are most valid when evaluated in terms of the criteria in the job descriptions.
Okay, so now let's jump to the major types of employment tests. When an organization has identified candidates whose applicants indicate they meet basic requirements, the organization continues the selection process with tests, such as aptitude tests, assess how well a person can learn or acquire skills and ability. The second one is achievement test, to measure a person's existing knowledge and skills. Also, there's other tests like physical ability test, cognitive ability test, job performance test and work samples, personality inventories, honesty text and drug test, and medical examination. Okay, so the next one is how to conduct an effective interview. Before we know about how to conduct a good interview, we need to point out 3 points. The first one is interviewing techniques, advantage and disadvantage of interviewing, and preparing to interview. Interviewing techniques include choice about the type of question to ask and the number of people who conduct the interview. In a non-directive interview, the interviewer has great discretion in choosing questions. The candidate's reply to one question may suggest other questions to ask. A structured interview establishes a set of questions for the interviewer to ask. Ideally, the questions are related to job requirements and cover relevant knowledge, skills, and experience. The third one is a situational interview. It's a structured interview in which the interviewer describes a situation likely to arise on the job and asks the candidate what he or she would do in that situation. And the last one is a behavior description interview. It's a structured interview in which the interviewer asks the candidate to describe how he or she handled that type of situation in the past. Okay, so the second point is advantages and disadvantages of interviewing. Interviews can provide a means to check the accuracy of information on the applicant's resume or job application, asking applicants to elaborate about their experience and offer details to reduce the likelihood of a candidate being able to invent a work history. Despite this benefit, interviewing is not necessarily the most accurate basis for making a selection decision. Research has shown that interviews can be unreliable, low in validity, and biased against a number of different groups. Interviews are also costly. They require that at least one person to devote time to interviewing each candidate, and the applicants typically have to be brought to one geographic location. Interviewers are also subjective, so they place the organization at greater risk of discrimination complaints by applicants who were not hired, especially if those individuals were asked questions not entirely related to their job. The last point is preparing to interview. Organizations can reap the greatest benefit from interviewing if they're prepared carefully. A well-planned interview should be standardized, comfortable for the participant, and focus on the job and the organization. The interviewer should have a quiet place in which to conduct interview without interruption. This person should be trained in how to ask objective questions, what subjects matter to avoid, and how to detect and handle his or her own personal bias or other distraction in order to fairly evaluate candidates. The last point is preparing to interview. Organizations can reap the greatest benefit from interviewing if they're prepared carefully. A well-planned interview should be standardized, comfortable for the participant, and focus on the job and the organization. The interviewer should have a quiet place in which to conduct interview without interruption. This person should be trained in how to ask objective questions, what subjects matter to avoid, and how to detect and handle his or her own personal bias or other distraction in order to fairly evaluate candidates.
Okay, guys, so that's all from us talking about selecting employees and placing them in jobs. Thank you for watching.